It is said in the book that God showed himself in Sinai in all his fearful might to say by means of it, I am God. This is my will. This is the lightning I hold ready for those who will rebel against the will of God. And before speaking, he ordered that none of the people should go up to contemplate him who is, and that also the priests should be purified before approaching the limit of God, that they may not be struck, because it was the time of justice and of trials. Heaven was closed as if by a stone on the mystery of heaven and on the wrath of God, and only the sword of justice flashed from heaven and the guilty children. But now, not now, now the just one has come to consume all justice, and the time has come when without lightning and without limitations the word of God speaks to man to give him grace and life. The first word of the Father and Lord is this: I am your God. This is not one instance of the day in which this word is not uttered by the voice of God and is not written by his finger. Where? Everywhere. It is continuously by everything. By grass, stars, by water, fire, by wool, by food, by light, by darkness, by healthy and illness, by wealth and poverty. Everything says, I am the Lord. You receive that from me. One thought of mine gives it to you, another thought takes it away from you. There is no power of armies or defense that can shield you from my will. It shouts in the voice of the winds, it sings in the murmur of the water, it gives off scent in the sweet smell of flowers. It is engraved on the mountaintops, and it whispers, speaks, calls, shouts in consciences, I am the Lord your God. Never forget that. Do not close your eyes, your ears. Do not suffocate your consciences so that you may not hear that word. In any case, it stands. The moment will come when it will be written by the fiery finger of God on the walls of banquet halls and on the waves of the rough seas, on the smiling lips of the children, or on the parlors of a dying old man, on sweet-smelling rose, or on fetid sepulchre. The moment will come when the exhilaration of the wine and pleasure and the bustle of business and the rest of night during the long walk, it will raise its voice and say, I am the Lord your God, not the flesh you kiss so avidly, not the food you gobble so greedily, not the gold you hoard so stingily, not the bed in which you idle, and neither taciturnity nor loneliness nor sleep can silence it. I am the Lord your God, the companion who will not abandon you, the guest you cannot drive out. Are you good? Then the guest and companion is a good friend, and you are wicked and guilty. Then the guest and companion becomes an angry king and gives no peace. He does not leave you. Separation from God is granted only to the damned souls. But the separation is their unappeasable and eternal torture. I am the Lord your God, and it adds, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. Oh, he really says that just now. And from Egypt he is bringing you towards the promised land, which is not this place, but heaven. The eternal kingdom of the Lord, where there is no hunger or thirst or cold or death, but everything will exude joy and peace, and every soul will be replete with peace and joy. He is now releasing you from the real slavery. Here is the Redeemer. It is I have come to break your chains. Every human ruler may die, and though through his death slaves may be set free, but Satan does not die. He is eternal. He is the ruler who has fettered you in order to drag you where he wishes. You are sinners, and sin is the chain by means of which Satan holds you. I have come to break the chain. I am coming in the name of the Father, and because I want to come, the promise which has not been understood is therefore now being fulfilled. And I brought you out of the land of Egypt of slavery. This is now being fulfilled spiritually. The Lord your God, bringing you out of the land of the idol, who seduced the first parents, he frees you from the slavery of sin. He clothes you once again with grace and admits you to his kingdom. And I solemnly tell you that those who come to me will be able to hear the Most High say to the blessed hearts in the soft fatherly voice, I am the Lord your God, and I am drawing you to me free and happy. Come, turn your hearts and faces, your prayers and your will to the Lord. The hour of grace has come. You shall have no gods in my presence. You have heard many gods. You have heard how God is omniscient with his eyes and his voice. Truly, you are always in his presence, whether you are locked in a room or amongst the crowds in the temple or in his presence. If we are concealed benefactors hiding our faces from the people we help, or murderers who attack and kill wayfarers in a lonely gorge, we are always in his presence. A king in the middle of his court, a soldier on the battlefield, a Levite inside the temple, a wise man bent over his books, a peasant in the furrows, a merchant at his desk, a mother watching over her cradle, a bride in her nuptial room, a virgin in the secrecy of her father's dwelling, a child studying at school, an old man laying down to die. They are all in his presence. They are all in his presence, and all the actions of men are in his presence. All the actions of men. A dreadful word and a comforting one. Dreadful if the actions are sinful, and comforting if they are holy. To know that God sees us prevents us from doing evil and encourages us to do good. God sees that I am doing the right thing, and I know that he does not forget what he sees. I believe he rewards good deeds, and I am therefore certain that I shall be rewarded, and I rest on that certainty. It will give me a happy life and a placid death, because both in life and in death my soul will be comforted by the bright light of God's friendship. That is the reasoning of a person who does good. But why do evildoers not consider idolatry as one of the forbidden things? Why do they not say, God sees while I simulate a holy cult? I worship a false god or false gods, to whom I have erected an altar, unknown to man, but known to God. Which gods, may you object? If even in the temple there is no image of God, which are the faces of these gods? If what was impossible to elaborate a face, because the perfect and most pure one cannot be worthily represented by man? Only the spirit can catch a glimpse of the incorporeal sublimity, beauty that can hear his voice and appreciate the caresses which he bestows upon holy persons worthy of such divine contact. But the sight and hearing, the hand of man cannot see or hear, and therefore they cannot repeat with sound on a lyre or with a mallet or a chisel or marble what the Lord is. Oh, endless happiness when you souls of just people will see God. The first glance will be the dawn of the blessedness which will be your companion for centuries without end. And yet what we cannot do for the true God, man does for false gods. And one erects an altar to a woman, another to gold, another to power, another to science, another to military triumphs. One worships a mighty man equal to himself by nature, but greater in arrogance or luck. Another worships himself, saying, there is no one like me. Such are the gods of those who are the people of God. Do not be astonished at the heathens who worship animals and reptiles and stars. How many reptiles, how many animals, how many dead stars you worship in your hearts? Lips utter lies of flattery to possess, to corrupt. Are those not the prayers of secret idolaters? Hearts brood over thoughts of vengeance, of illicit trades, of prostitution. Are not the cults devoted to the impure gods of lust, greed, and wickedness? It is said, you shall adore nothing but your true one, eternal God. It is said, I am strong in the jealous God. Strong, no other strength is greater than his. Man is free to act, Satan is free to tempt, but when God says enough, man can no longer do wrong, Satan can no longer tempt. The latter is driven back into the hell, the former is checked in his misuse of evil doing. to which there is no limit beyond which God does not allow anyone to go? Jealous? Of what? Of which jealousy? Of the petty jealousy of petty men? No, the holy jealousy of God for his children. The just loving jealousy. He created you. He loves you. He wants you. He knows what is harmful to you. He is aware of what is capable of separating you from him. And he is jealous of what interposes between the Father and his children and diverts them from the only love which is health and peace, God. Understand that jealousy, which is not mean, is not cruel, is not restrictive of freedom, which gives itself to the limited creature to draw itself to its infinity. A good father does not want to enjoy his wealth by himself, but he wants his children to enjoy it with him. After all, he has accumulated his riches more for his children than for himself. God acts likewise, but he conveys to his love and desire the perfection which is in all his actions. Do not disappoint the Lord. He promises the guilty father of the guilty children punishment, and God always keeps his promises. But do not be disheartened, O children of men and of God. Listen to the other promise and rejoice. I show kindness down to the 1,000th generation of those who love me and keep my commandments. Down to the 1,000th generation of good, and to the 1,000th fault of the poor children of man who fall not out of wickedness, but out of their thoughtlessness and Satan's snares. And all his kindness is even greater. I tell you that he stretches his arm out towards you with penitent hearts and faces washed by tears. And you say, Father, I have sinned. I know. I humble myself and confess my sins to you. Forgive me. Your forgiveness will be my strength to start living again the true life. Do not be afraid. Before you commit sins out of weakness, he knew that you would sin. His heart is closed only if you persist in your sin and want to sin, thus making of us a certain sin, or of many sins, your gods of horror. Demolish every idol. Make room for the true God. He will descend in his glory to consecrate your hearts, and when he sees that he is the only one in you, give God's dwelling back to him. His abode is not in the temples, with stones, but within the hearts of men. Wash its threshold. Clear its interior with all useless or sinful decorations. Only God, he alone, he is everything. In no way is inferior to paradise the heart of man in which God dwells. The heart of man who sings his love to the divine guest. Of every heart, make a heaven. Start your cohabitation with the Most High. In your eternal future, it will improve in power and joy. But even here, it will exceed the trembling amazement of Abraham, Jacob, and Moses, because it will no longer be the dazzling, frightening meeting with the Mighty One, but the permanent life with the Father and friend who descends to say, it is a joy for me to be amongst men. You make me happy. Thank you, Son.